Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So, big changes are potentially coming to Magic and Commander this year. I mean, some changes are definitely happening with what sets and things are coming out this year, but also, well, with Wizards now being in charge of the rules of Commander, well, certain things might be changing, and there has been some discussion around certain cards that don't quite fit the mold of Commander, essentially, and those cards, well, being discussed if they should be banned. Let's jump into it, starting off with Divine Intervention. Now, this card is one of the saltiest cards of all time in Commander, and it is incredibly unique in, well, what it does and why it is so salt-inducing. A 1.97 according to the salt scale. Yeah, definitely in the top 100 saltiest cards of all time. And again, unlike anything else, you may never have actually seen this card or ever heard about this card, but this card is just, well, an enchantment that costs 8 mana in white and does kind of, not nothing, but its point is for the game to be nothing, because it says basically enters the battlefield and gets 2 counters on it. You move a counter from it on your upkeep. When the last counter is removed from it, the game is a draw. And really, I mean, I'll bring up one other card here in a little bit. Like, yeah, there are ways to end the game in a draw just naturally. There are certain combinations of cards that, oh, that's an infinite loop now. Do you have a way to stop the infinite loop? No. Do you have a way to win with the infinite loop? No. Can anyone do this? No. Okay, the game is a draw. There are ways for there just to be a draw from that, a stalemate of sorts. But this card, its intention is literally, I'm going to draw the game. And the decks that are built around this are literally just built to play this and kind of troll the table and be like, hey, yeah, the game is a draw. Now, does that necessitate a ban? Well, it is one of the saltiest cards of all time. There are ways to get this result quite quickly as well. And again, when the entire point of the card is basically to be a troll, like, I don't know why this card was actually invented in the first place. Like, when it comes to, you know, old Magic, like, what, when would you ever include this in a competitive deck? You're like, wait, just in case I'm about to lose the game. Well, I've got this card, which can stop me from losing the game, make the game into a draw, and we shall go on to the next round, and I will win that one. Unless I'm about to lose that game, then I'll play this. So, again, like, the entire kind of point of the card is just, well, kind of pointless. And again, in a format like Commander, where there are certain social contract rules that basically players kind of agree to when the game starts, essentially, you know, the rule zero, quote unquote. This is a card that kind of breaks those rules. Again, kind of the intention of Commander's like, hey, yeah, everyone's playing basically, you know, to have a good time, and everyone's playing to win the game. Actually, I did an episode a little while ago about maybe the most hated deck of all time, the hated concept of all time. You might want to check that out, but basically, it was a deck that just king makes other players and chooses not to win itself. It's like, oh no, I'm not trying to win, I'm just trying to king make other players, which can grind some players' gears, essentially, because, again, everyone's sitting down at the table, you know, trying to agree to play a game, all with the intention, or at least perceived intention, that everyone's just, yeah, planning to have a good time, planning to, you know, try to win. And when you're not trying to win at all, well, that can cause problems. And this is a card that can definitely do that. It's kind of like, you know, what was the point of us actually sitting down and playing this 2-hour game when you just ended it in a draw with your weird Divine Intervention combo thing? Now, when it comes to actually pulling this off, like, yeah, obviously, typically, you have to, like, you know, wait 2 trips around the table, okay? Get your upkeep, and then all of a sudden you move a counter. Next time you move a counter. That would be the usual way to go about it, obviously. But, yeah, if you're building a deck around this one, there are certain options that can make this a lot quicker. I mean, the first that comes to my mind is Vampire Hexmage. Yeah, a 2-1 Vampire Shaman first strike. That's nice. The important thing that matters, though, is sacrifice it, remove all counters from target permanent. So, yeah, just being able to, again, trigger that, hey, when the last counter is removed, part of the card, that's what happens. You lose the game. So, or not lose the game, you draw the game. Everyone loses, essentially, because no one wins, in a way. So, yeah, being able to draw the game just immediately by sacrificing this, yeah, I mean, if you're building the deck with Divine Intervention in it, I'm probably guaranteeing you that you've got ways to tutor for it and ways to actually remove those counters immediately, so you're not waiting an upkeep, waiting to another upkeep when your opponents actually have a chance to remove it. Hex Parasite, another way to get rid of it basically right away. Again, a 1/1 insect for a single mana. Pay X and for X in black. Remove up to X counters from target permanent. For each counter move this way, it gets +1/+0. I mean, that's nice. You get to remove the 2 counters. It's 3/1 now. Yay! That doesn't matter. What matters is, again, the game is just over. The game is now a draw. Render Inert, another one that we got more recently, though. Move up to 5 counters from target permanent, draw a card. So, yeah, I mean, typically this would be used against, planeswalkers or whatnot, I guess. But in this case, it'd be like, oh, yeah, cool. Let's just get rid of those counters right away. Resourceful Defense, whenever a permanent you control leaves the battlefield, hide counters on it, put those counters on target permanent you control. Yeah, sure, that's nice, and that's good for certain decks out there, obviously, but more importantly for this scenario, pay 5 mana in total, move any number of counters from target permanent you control to another target permanent you control. Again, that would be removing the last counter in that way. Clock Spinning, another way to do that, and this card does see a decent amount of play in certain strategies that like buyback. Choose a counter on target permanent or suspend card, remove that counter from that permanent or card, or put another of those counters on it. Yeah, basically cast this. I mean, if you get to 1 trip on the table, your opponents might think, okay, we've got a full another trip to actually stop this player from drawing the game for whatever reason they're doing that. Then you could just instant speed 1 mana do that. Or obviously, if you cast this, buy it back, cast it again for 5 mana in total. That would be a way to just do that right away. Invasion of Fioria. This is one that, again, is a good board wipe. Enters the battlefield, choose one or both. Destroy ledger creatures, all not ledger creatures. You flip this over, though, once you actually take the battle out, and it flips over to Marchesa. 3/6 Menace, Death Touching, Human Noble. Whenever it attacks, move all counters from to 1 target permanent. So again, just attack once, and all of a sudden, the game is a draw. Thornmantle Striker. This one's a bit more dependent. This one says, hey, you need at least, 2 elves in play? 1 plus another one. Or sorry, this one plus another one, I should say. Enters the battlefield, remove X counters target permanent, X the number of elves you control. Finally, Cemetery Desecrator. Enters the battlefield or it dies. Exile another card from a graveyard. When you do, choose 1, remove X counters to target permanent or X the mana value of the exiled card. Or, sure, an opponent creature gets, -X until I've turn. Cool. That's, again, not the point of this one. The point is, hey, you know what? Again, this is a card that is kind of, again, just out there. It is a card that can be perceived as so it's like, oh, there's no reason to worry about that. I guess I should say, when it comes to my opinion, I'm kind of on the fence about this one, really. Do I think the card should actually exist? Probably not. Again, if you are starting the Commander format completely over and you're saying, okay, these cards are banned, these cards are not banned, and you're actually kind of just putting the list together, I don't see a reason to say why this card should, stay legal, essentially. There's no reason to say, oh, well, yeah, it's a card that is completely, it's completely fine for Commander. It's a card that is not at all problematic. It's a card that literally the intention if you're building on this card is literally just to troll the table. That is literally your goal. Your goal is not to win, which, again, when it comes to a game of Commander, everyone's sitting down. Typically, again, I'd say the vast majority of the time, if not all the time, all players should be trying to win the game to make it a fun experience for all players because, again, if you've got, say, a king-making deck, that can be, again, problematic for the other 2 players at the table that you are not king-making because, and even for the player that's getting king-made, they don't want to win the game just kind of with an asterisk next to it, oh, okay, yeah, I won, but it's because I got all this help from other player. With this one, it's kind of oh, okay, why did we just sit down for 2 hours to play this game, and then you just ended it all in a draw? You could have used your resources to, I don't know, if you're going to do some kind of a weird combo like that, just combo and win. I don't know. So that is kind of the interesting thing about it. And again, there really aren't any cards out there. There are certain combinations, like I mentioned earlier, where, yeah, you can get into a stalemate. You can get into a, what is it, John Arenicus, essentially, and any kind of the, Island Home or Swamp Home type cards. Yeah, that is a commander that I've actually done an episode on Losing Your Friends, but a commander that can very easily draw the game in a lot of different ways. That being said, John Arenicus can also be built in plenty of ways that don't do that, number 1. Number 2, the entire intention of this card is literally just draw the game. The only other card in Magic history that I could find, and please let me know in the comments below if you found other ones on this, or you know of any other ones on this that actually mention literally drawing the game. Celestial Convergence is the only other one I've ever been able to find. And this one is kind of like Divine Intervention, but not really. Celestial Convergence, enchantment for 4 mana in white, comes into play with 7 Omen counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, move an Omen counter from it. There are no Omen counters on it. The player with the highest life total wins the game. 2 or more players are tied to the highest life total. The game is a draw. So this is one that, again, basically does give the avenue for a draw, sure. But it also, again, the intent of this card is to win. It's not the end goal of Divine Intervention is literally to just draw the game. There's no other end goal to that card. This one, again, it's hey, typically there's going to be a winner to this game. But if there happens to be a tie at the highest life total, yeah, the game ends in a draw. Now, could you build an entire deck around this card and like trying to utilize, what is that, like Arbiter of Null Ridge or whatever, where everyone's life total becomes equal to their starting life total or highest life total or whatever that one is? Basically, a way to reset life totals or set everyone to the exact same. Sure, you could do that. Absolutely, you could do that. That being said, again, like the actual intent of this card, the actual purpose behind it is, hey, yeah, high life total wins the game. There is a win the game purpose to this card. Whereas Divine Intervention, not really. So again, when it comes to like Wizards taking over the format and potentially making certain changes, they really might actually take a look at certain scenarios where it's like, okay, this card has been banned in the past, and it's one that is on the salt scale pretty high up. Not Celestial Convergence. I kept that one of the screens like, not this one actually. No, not Celestial Convergence, but Divine Intervention. And so it is one that, again, 1.97 on the salt scale is quite high on the salt scale. And there's a reason why, again, like its entire purpose is literally just to troll the table. So should a card that literally has no other purpose other than potentially taking away from the experiences of other players and not really what other players signed up to play with, essentially, should that be a part of Commander when everyone, again, when it comes to the social contract of the game, the rule zero of the game, it's like, okay, everyone's playing to have fun, essentially, and also playing to win the game, really, because, yeah, when it comes to a game of Commander, again, if you've got a king-making deck, if you've got a deck that literally just wants to draw the game, you can be taking away from other players' experiences, and that's really not kind of the spirit of the game is probably the reason why, I guess, the wording on why they would actually ban this card, and they very well might. Now, another really other weird card that kind of stands out is one it's like, they could ban this, but will they? That is Goblin Game. Now, Goblin Game is a very strange card that, like, when you first see it, you're like, okay, this wasn't an uncard. What? It's not an uncard. It's also not banned. Why? Like, this is a card that you just show someone and you're like, is this an actual Magic card that you can play in Commander? Most people out there who, like, don't know about this card or whatnot would be like, okay, let me read through it. Yeah, this card's probably banned. This card is not banned. Sorcery for 7 mana in red. Each player hides at least one object, then all players reveal them simultaneously. Each player loses life equal to the number of objects they revealed. Then the player who revealed the fewest object then loses half their life, rounded up. If 2 or more players are tied for the fewest, each loses half their life, rounded up. This is a very strange card, yes. There really aren't any other cards in Magic that, like, mention getting objects from outside the game, essentially, outside of, well, like, I don't know, like, uncards, essentially, right? Uncards mention that kind of stuff. This is written like and seems like an uncard, and yet it was in an actual Magic set that is, yeah, I mean, was legal and standard at the time, that kind of stuff, too, but yeah, obviously legal in internal formats like Commander, which might surprise again some of you because, like, okay, go out and hide some objects. It's outside of just like the actual constructs of the game. It's outside of like how the game typically works. And this is one where it's like kind of weird. I mean, it's not like, again, like the end result of it is a player loses half their life or, or multiple players lose half their life. Other players lose a certain number. The end result of it is a normal Magic thing that does happen. There are other cards that basically do that. There are other like kind of like gambling-ish cards where it's like, okay, you have to like bid a certain amount, essentially. Like there's that one new wheel or whatever, not new, but newish wheel, all right, that is something similar to that. So there are other cards that work that way, but all of them are more like, pick a number. This one's no like, okay, go hide objects. And then like if someone has like a bunch of objects in their hand, it's like, okay, like I have to hide, like how do you actually, the actual implications of this card, the actual resolving of this card can be problematic. Now, here's the thing, and this is kind of weird, and let me know in the comments below out there, like, people who have been in Magic for a long time, you might know another card that is somehow similar to this one, and Wizards has kind of made, like, a weird ruling on it, but let's talk about, like, the actual, rulings on this card. On the Scryfall page, you can see notes and rules information for Goblin Game. When it comes to choice of items, use common sense. Items should be small enough to hide, but large enough to count. Make it clear what kind of object you are hiding beforehand. So, like, again, like, you can hide, again, small enough to hide. So, smaller than, like, your hand, probably. But large enough to count. So, like, not like, okay, I just got a bunch of glitter and I chucked it on the table. Which, please don't do that. All right, for example, one player might choose coins, the other might choose dice. If you can't find something convenient to hide, write numbers on a piece of paper and reveal the numbers. Make sure the numbers are unambiguous. For example, underline a 6 or 9 so it can't be misread. Okay, so, again, like, I don't know of any other card, and maybe I'm just not thinking of one off the top of my head that I should be thinking of, but, like, literally just like, okay, the card is written in this way where it's never mentioned like choose a number. It is not mentioned like, everyone chooses a number, or that's an option even. It's no, you have to hide objects. But literally saying like in the rules information, like, hey, if you can't do that, just do this instead. Like, what? So yeah, giving you like the option, just like, okay, the way it should have been worded was just like everyone picks a number, not like actual hide objects. But yeah, this is one that's like, it kind of falls along the line to me of like, the dexterity cards that are banned kind of in a way-ish, like the Chaos Orb type cards are like kind of outside just the bounds of the actual game in a way. This is one that like could be banned for that reason, but will it ever be banned? Again, this is just kind of, if Wizards is truly kind of taking a new look at the format, a look from the perspective of, all right, they're in control now. They can make certain decisions that maybe the rules committee themselves might not have made, but they can make these decisions now. And again, if you are going to be doing like a fresh perspective and a fresh choice on what decisions you're going to be making moving forward, it wouldn't surprise me if something like Divine Intervention or Goblin Game was banned just out of the gate and be like, hey, like, just, for the spirit of Commander, for, the spirit of the format, essentially kind of banning for Divine Intervention, and just like, yeah, Goblin Game's a weird card. We're not sure why it's legal in Commander, Vintage, Legacy, and Oathbreaker, I guess. But sure, Commander, it's banned. We shall see. Now, again, when it comes to, like, when things might be changing, again, like, I don't anticipate any bans right away at the beginning of the year. I do think that they're going to kind of dip their toe into things as things go along. There is, MagicCon Chicago coming up in the end of February, so not too far away, like a month away from this point. So we shall see if and when things start changing. But yeah, I don't believe that they're just going to come in heavy with bans right away this year. I do think there are certain things that are going to happen later in the year, I would assume, and I could be very wrong on this, on it not happening immediately or happening at all, essentially. But yeah, I do think that there are definitely going to be some unbannings this year, and I'm not going to be surprised if we see some bannings, and again, some bannings that you might not expect, like Divine Intervention or Goblin Game, just because, again, they are taking that, okay, we are taking over the format now. We have, for better or worse, we have a perspective on it, and this is our perspective on it, and some cards that maybe weren't banned in the past for this reason or that reason. Now we're just taking that fresh look at it, and like, yeah, again, if you're restarting the Commander format, Divine Intervention probably wouldn't be allowed in it, because the entire purpose of the card is literally just to troll the table, and it doesn't bring anything to the game, essentially, at all. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. Have you ever played against Divine Intervention or Goblin Game, or played with them? What are your thoughts on those? Are there any other cards that are, again, along those lines? Like, again, do you know of any other Goblin Game cards or cards like that? It's like, how is this a legal effect in Commander? I'm talking about outside of uncards, okay? I guess the uncards are legal in Commander, but outside of uncards, those kinds, like, are there anything else out there like Goblin Game even, or Divine Intervention? But yeah, there's some weird cards out there, and these just kind of rub some players the wrong way. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Make sure you comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.